Yeah, it's like being Alan Titchmarsh and having your own garden and then going on TV and telling people what to do. The amount of fake medicines out there, it's unbelievable. Get all the chocolates out of the house, but when you want a chocolate, go buy a chocolate, buy a single bar of chocolate, enjoy it, and enjoy, because we're humans, we've got to enjoy things.
Yeah.
She had taken one of these fake pens, and it turned out to be insulin.
Oh, crikey. On today's episode of The Engaging Marketeer, I am speaking to a medical practitioner, which is the first time for this podcast, called Jella Kang. Jella is exceptional at weight loss with injection pens, and he's going to be talking a lot to me about how they work, why they work, what the dangers are of using them, and why so many people across the UK are buying inferior knockoffs on social media, particularly Facebook, that are extremely dangerous or just completely devoid of any use whatsoever. They might be filled with water. So I'm going to be talking to Jella about all of this weight loss and how these magical pens work, and possibly even suggesting it for myself. So let's get in there. So Jella, tell me, why is it that you actually do what you do? Why is it that you help people? What got you interested in wanting to do that?
So I've always been like, I like people. My first thing is you have to like people.
Oh, me and all. Love them.
Yeah, you have to talk to people. I remember I did a sales job once, and my boss said to me, like, after I got the sales, it was medical sales, and my boss said to me, you're right what you said to me. I goes, what do you mean? Because you said you talk to anyone. I goes, yeah. And we'd gone into Tesco's, because I was doing a lunchtime meeting, so I bought some sandwiches. And there were some old dears there, and I'm talking to them, how are you doing? I'm talking to the staff. And I have a philosophy. My philosophy is, it's even like my wife goes, why are you talking to that person? Why are you, and people, stop talking to that person. That's, and my kids are going, don't talk to. I guess, well, if you only talk to the people that you know, how are you going to get to know new people? So that is my philosophy. And sometimes people do look at me weirdly. One thing I'll tell you is, because I'm Indian, my background's Indian, and I'll talk to Indian women, and when I've always been taught to be respectful. So when I speak to Indian women, especially older women, I call them Masiji, my mom's sister, and I think that's the biggest sort of respect you can give. So I just like talking to people, and I've been respectful with people, and like having a laugh with people. Now I live in Liverpool. It's great because the whole bunch of Scousers are all just
they'll all talk to you.
Comedians. It's like so you can have a good laugh. Yeah. With the people here, they're quite friendly and what have you. It's got a bit of a bad rap some point, but generally, even the bad guys are quite funny. When you talk to people, it's like, So I like it's a good place to be. So that's where I come from, talking to people, and then obviously I'm sort of like what I do. I like helping people. My first thing always is helping people, and someone said to me the other day, they goes, you should be focused more on the financial side. And in any business, you have like someone who's more financial, someone who's more people orientated. And that's a good partnership. And I'm more people focused. I remember one of the girls that I've got a couple of businesses, and one's a pharmacy, and someone had phoned up, said, "Oh, Jella, this person's phoned up," and they said, "Oh, no, I want to use Jella because Jella always helps me out." And I'm thinking, well, that's great. So if I had a few of those people, you've got like, what do you call them, advocates, when they're like, I forgot, they're like big fans. So I'm trying to
raving fans.
Yeah. So if you've got enough of those people, as long as you're servicing them properly, giving them the right advice, the right products, and you're not, you treat them. I treat people as my friends. And that's my whole philosophy. Because I remember opening up on Christmas Day, somebody wanted some stuff, and I just opened up on Christmas Day.
Really?
And ever since that day, they just use me. It's just like when they want something, the first thing they do with my pharmacy was, "No, I'm going to Jella because he's helped me out." And if you give, you will get it back. And I have that philosophy.
Yeah. There's a couple of things you said there I thought were quite interesting. The first one was that you'll talk to anyone. That's not a natural skill in business, to be able to go out and talk to people, because a lot of people, when they go to networking meetings or they go out and meet prospective clients, maybe it might be trade shows, they don't like talking to people because they don't like the rejection, or they don't like the fact that they're trying to drum up business. So that's a really good skill, a natural skill that you've got that many business owners haven't. Have you found it useful in other aspects of business as well, just being able to just speak to anybody and talk to them?
So funny you say that. I went to a chamber meeting, and Jeff, who does a lot of the exhibitions, actually had a presentation. And what he did say, one of the things he said was, when you come, because I'm totally new to networking. I've dealt with patients and looking after patients, and I get doctors, nurses, and what have you. So I'm totally new to networking. And Jeff was there talking about giving a presentation, and he mentioned, because when you're in a room with networking, it's about talking to people that you don't know. So yes, I find that I'm quite happy with talking to people, but you still get a bit nervous talking to people. And the advice I've always had is sort of speaking to someone yesterday, because don't be a hunter, be a giver. And so I like to, if you help people, and this is what I'm saying, back to helping people. If you help people first, they'll help you. You've got to have, at the end of the day, you're there for business, but helping people first always puts you in a good stead.
No, that's 100% right. And you are the kind of person that any networking group would want as a member. Because if you can go out and talk to anybody, particularly if you're talking to a lot of women and you don't mind walking up to somebody in Tesco's and speaking to them, you'll find out that their carpet needs cleaning, that their house needs decorating, that their holiday needs booking, and you'll be able to pass business. So you are what's called a natural networker. You're a dream for any networking group. So I hope you do go out and join lots of groups. But one thing you also mentioned there as well as being in business, you're a talker person, a people pleaser, but you also want to be in business with somebody who's a financial.
Yeah.
Is that your setup at the moment? Have you got somebody who's a partner of yours that is?
So my setup at the moment, I have a pharmacy, I have my new medical centres, have a business there. My business partner there is more the financial side. I also have a training company as well, where in a way I'm doing, so it's the other way, the roles reverse slightly, because I've got my business partner doing more of the clinical stuff on that side, and I'm doing more the sort of website and the maintenance, not the maintenance, the Google, because I want to learn about Google and all that sort of stuff, Google ads. So I'm doing that as well. I'm doing the, what was I just doing the other day? Sort of sending out, the email marketing campaigns, because I've done some sort of email marketing and done some marketing training. So I want to keep my hand in that, because what's good then, because when I then do that, then when I speak to, we've got a marketing team for our pharmacy and our medical centre, and I'm saying to, well, what are you doing here? Why are you doing that? And I can talk with a bit of knowledge about it, so I know, what they're talking about when they're telling me about, why you can't do this. I'm going, okay, I understand why you can't do that, but what about this? Yeah.
Because the reason I think most businesses end up failing is because you get two people going into business together who both do the same thing, and they're good at the same thing, and they love doing the same thing. So web design is a classic one. Two people love building websites. That's all they like to do. But what they're not good at is organization. They're not good at sales. They're not good at the admin, which means they don't follow up invoices. They don't invoice people on time. They don't get paid. They can't pay their staff. They go bust. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So you going into business with someone who has opposing skills to you, again, it's unusual, but it is a really solid way to start a business. Yeah. So that's fantastic to see.
And I know we sort of know where our skills lie, and so I will bow to him when it comes to the financial side, and then when it comes to the technical skills, and when it comes to the registration and the lead, because we have a pharmacy and we've got like a medical centre now. There's a lot of sort of regulations. So the regulations, it's up to me. If I make a regulatory decision, that's a decision there. So it's good like that.
You mentioned you're doing your own email marketing, you're doing your own website updates and Google stuff.
Yeah.
Is that just for the pharmacy, or is that for all of the businesses that you've got?
No. So for the pharmacy, it's so we have with the pharmacy, I have it's a private pharmacy. We specialize in things like Botox, fillers, aesthetics, that sort of stuff. So we have a private pharmacy, and that we have a head office in Lee. It's Refined Pharma. That's that sells nationally, and then my pharmacy here, which I used to have with NHS, and now it's a private pharmacy. We've sold the NHS bit. We have a private pharmacy, and that's more local. So that's a local, and then we have a team that does all that. And then with the medical centre now, which is, again, I've got that with my business partner. So that uses the same marketing team for that. However, I've got a training company with a friend of mine, which I train on weight loss products is the main sort of things that we're training on. And I tend to do, we've got the website done. I also get help from my computer dude at Refined Pharma. So he helps me out as well on that. But things like the email marketing. I've just gone on to MailChimp today. I was looking at MailChimp, and then I was looking at the Google Analytics and stuff, and I'm asking one of the girls at the pharmacy about that. But it's a small scale, so it's not like we're not talking big numbers. It's a smaller business, so I can cope with that. And if I need more help, I've got the help there. If I need an agency, I can get an agency. But that's it's like I tinker with that. That's getting my hands mucky sort of thing.
It's something you can use to learn because you're happy to do that.
Yeah, it's like being Alan Titchmarsh and having your own garden and then going on TV and telling people what to do. I'm not as good as Alan Titchmarsh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So in terms of obviously you spending time doing that, having three separate, it is just the three businesses, is it?
I'm just going to think now because we're talking if we talk now like income streams. I was, when people say they got multiple income streams, but that's it. So it is so we have the pharmacy, and really they're all like sort of baby companies. So like the pharmacy has been 2 years old now, I'd say, 2 years, the private pharmacy. Then we've got the medical hub is a real baby. That's just 6 months old. And then the other company is about 5 or 6 years old, the training company, maybe 4 or 5 years. But that's been just like a little side thing. We've not really put that much effort into that. And then I'll sort of do like locums as well to keep myself in with all the clinical knowledge and things like that. That's the sort of 4 things that I currently do.
And how does that divide in terms of your time on a week or a monthly basis?
So I'm constantly sort of looking at how I can, get the best out of my time. And so what I tend to do, I am an advocate of waking up early. I don't always manage it, but I try and wake up at 5 o'clock. And then what I try and do is my training company stuff. I'll try and do that in the morning. And during the day, I have my priorities set out for the day. So I've got my little book that says, what are your 3 priorities that you're going to do? And what's the one main thing you're going to do? And I try and work on the principle, I've got to finish that before I start scrolling on, on Instagram and stuff like that. So that would take up most of my day job really is, well, most of my time is spent. So I'll have say I've got an hour or so, hour a day doing my training company in the morning before I do anything. And then I'll also read clinical papers in the morning. Then at work, I'll have my main focus, I'd say, is probably, 70% of my time is to do with the new medical centre. And then I'll go also, then the rest of the time I'll help out with the pharmacy and look at the 2 pharmacies, see how things are going. We've got managers in both of the pharmacies now as well, so that helps a bit.
Right. Okay, yeah, that takes the strain off.
Yeah.
With the training company, is that face-to-face training or is that online training or a mixture?
It's so we started with face to face, but what we're doing now is we're doing more of the online training. So we've got a weight loss product, which is it's I say weight loss product. It's a weight loss training product. It talks about there's a new batch of drugs. You've seen all they're called skinny pens. I don't call them skinny pen. Not a good name, but all those sort of pens. So we're dealing with those things. But we're actually talking more than that. What we're doing is, well, what I say to the delegates is, when you finish our course, you'll know about diet. You'll know about how people's mental state affects diet. You'll know about the drugs that are available. You'll know about the pharmacology, about how they work in the body, their side effects, how to use them. So that then you can say, with all that, you can safely prescribe the medication to the patient. So you should have everything you need to be able to safely prescribe those products, is what I say. And then our new one is a supplement to that, because there's that field has moved. There's new medication that's come out, and that's like a supplement to that talks about this new class of drug. So the one that everyone talks about, Ozempic, and the Ozempic is the sort of name for the diabetic drug. So it's a pen insulin. It's like a pen that you inject. The name of the drug is semaglutide. So semaglutide is the name of that drug, the scientific name. Its trade name is Ozempic, which is for diabetics. And in England, they've got the Wegovy, which is the brand name for weight loss. Yeah. And now there's a new drug out called Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide, which tirzepatide is the scientific name. Mounjaro is the name of the brand name. And that one is licensed for weight loss and it's licensed for diabetes. So we've had an update with talking about the new drug.
And do these need to be prescribed? You can't go into a chemist and buy it off the shelf?
No, you can't buy it. And this is what I think we were discussing off camera. Should we talk about fake medicines?
Yeah, let's segue nicely into it.
Okay, let's talk about fake medicines. I cannot believe the amount of fake medicines out there. It's unbelievable. But these are injectable, prescription-only products. So what I cannot understand is why people buy products from Facebook, from non-medical people, they don't even know who they are, who send them something in the post and they're going to inject it. Am I right? I'm a medical person, so I've got to ask you this. Is that silly that people would inject stuff which is, because I know, because I'm medical, am I being silly to think that people should know that you shouldn't be injecting stuff unless it's from a doctor or something?
No, I think that is a pretty logical assumption, that if you buy something offline from somebody you don't know who it's from, particularly from Facebook, that you probably should not be injecting that into your bloodstream. I wouldn't eat anything I bought off Facebook. I'd be uncertain of wearing something I got off Facebook, never mind injecting it. So I can't fathom what possesses someone to do that unless it's absolute desperation.
Yeah,
they've tried everything else, or they think they've tried everything else, and this just seems to be a quick and easy solution. People get their common sense goes out the window when they think they're going to get a quick win. Yeah,
so I think 2 points there. So quick wins. This is everyone's after a quick win. Yeah. So when patients come to see me, I say to them, right, I go, the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is the drug, because that's just a little tool that'll help you. I guess, but what I do what I do want to talk about is your mental state about, are you ready to lose weight? You've got to be in the mental state. Then I talk about your diet. Then I talk about exercise, and then I talk about the drug. But people like to they want the drug first. That's going to give them a quick win first, which isn't good. And for longevity as well, it's not good. So I try and do it the other way. That's what I do. So with regards to patients are desperate now, what we have had is we've had a lot of stock issues of these medications. And obviously unscrupulous people have taken advantage of that, and they've been selling totally fake stuff, which is not just water or something. If it's just water, but even worse, and they've purchased stuff which isn't licensed in this country, maybe it's a lot cheaper and they've brought it over. So people have been sort of desperate in a way to get hold of it. And then someone's got it online, someone's got it on Facebook, someone's got it on Instagram. Okay, that looks right. Let's grab hold of that. And people have got that. So I can understand yet people's desire, but like you said, the common sense does go out the window. Yeah. So horror story wise, let me talk a couple of horror stories about. So one was actually, I don't know if you remember, there was a girl from somewhere down South Oxford or Cambridge or somewhere. She had taken one of these fake pens and it turned out to be insulin.
Oh, so, crikey.
Insulin, what does insulin do? Reduces your blood sugar. She would have been in a coma if her daughter was then, she phoned the police. And then what it turned out was that one of my medical practitioners knew her and did used to prescribe her the proper pen, did a proper consultation, prescribed her the proper stuff. She couldn't get hold of her or something, and she'd gone online and thought, well, it looks the same. It's not quite the same. It looks the same. And then got the pen, and God, she's lucky to be alive.
Wow. And that was bought off Facebook, presumably, or some social media
somewhere like that. Yeah. So again, she could have died. I mean, some people have stuff and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then I've had someone the other day text me the other day, and she said, Jella, is this fake? And I'm sorry, the reason a lot of people send me this stuff as well is on my Instagram now. So I have my own Instagram, and the reason I have my own Instagram, my staff has said to me, is Jella, you have your own Instagram because I talk a lot about weight loss. So if I talk about weight loss, they go like Instagram or Google or all those companies don't like you talking about it. They might stop you, even though I'm talking about it from a medical side. So I talk a lot, and then I post a lot about fake stuff. So that people send me these pictures, and she had sent me a picture of a product which was like, the strength isn't even in this country. The box was like, I look at the box, it's like a white label box. So is this fake? Because I think it is. And then she said to me that when I saw her, when she came in, she was a nurse, she came in, she said the patient ended up in intensive care unit with pancreatitis and with something else, and they were in intensive care unit. Wow. Taking that medication. So it's not good. So if we talk about the licensing and regulations quickly, I've just had this is this big thick book. I've got to go through this big thick book, had a little exam and everything, because we've got a wholesale dealer's license now.
Right.
And we had to go through. It's a lot of stuff we had to go through. Had the inspector I think it was nearly a day. The inspector was actually on Zoom talking to us. What have you got here? What about your temperature? How are you doing your fridge? Or what about that? What about your vehicles and everything? So that was one of the businesses that they went through so much stuff. Right. So if we look at drugs and how they get into the market, so say the factory's abroad, the factory has to be tested. Yeah. Then the factory, they're sending drugs from the factory to the airport. The vehicles have to be tested and checked and risk assessed. The airplane, okay, that has to be risk assessed. Is the temperature going to be kept the right temperature so it gets to our country? The courier has to make sure that, if it's a cold product like this is like a fridge product, that has to be tested. It goes to the wholesaler. They have to be tested. Their whole thing. So we're a wholesaler, so we have to be tested. Then say we're selling it on, we might, depending who we're selling it on, what if it's a pharmacy or what have you, we have a courier now, like what they call Polar Speed we use now. So they're obviously tested. They've got their own wholesale license. So that's the whole procedure in the market. Yeah. What what happens is people are going to like Turkey, suitcase full of stuff. In it goes, paid for the holiday, got a bag full of stuff, which if it's just not been tested. The factory isn't MHRA tested. There's all this sort of stuff, and it's bypassed everything. Then they're selling it on eBay.
Presumably, that's not actually legal to bring through anyway.
Probably not. Well, no, it's not. So, but this is what I hear. And also, the other day, I think someone, it was one of my staff said, "Oh, this is this product legal?" I goes, "No, that's not legal stuff." So I texted and told her it's not legal. And I looked at it, "Where did you get it from?" She told me. So I went on the website. It said .pka. I guess that's Pakistan. So your website was Pakistan. I guess so. I wouldn't think that it's legal. And then I can tell by looking at the pack, it doesn't look like the proper stuff. So, so there's a lot of fake stuff coming in. If it's sort of, the thing is, if it looked real, I'd say fine, but sometimes as well, what people are doing is, it's like, let me just show you. That's like a demonstration pen. This is the latest stuff. It's like a pen.
That's a weight loss pen, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I saw the other day was, so these are needle syringes that we use. Can you see them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we use these not for this pen. I use them for other things. But people, so this, it was on Facebook, and they were selling. So they must have decanted the medication into four of these, and selling them as a package and telling you this is what you do. I remember, I'm trained in sort of aseptic technique, meaning how I can keep everything clean. And if I'm going to give you an injection, I have it clean, sort of sterile vial. I have sterile gloves, everything. But they're buying stuff on the hope that someone has put them in here in a sterile manner. Again, so there's so much about that, which is just, it's not right. But the biggest thing is putting people at risk. So at the end of the day, it's putting people at risk. And I'm going to tell you one funny thing. Some of them are charging more money than I am, and I'm selling you the proper stuff. So that's a bit like what? Well, they've got better marketing than me.
It's the illusion of a bargain, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be cheaper. People just have to think it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And they'll buy it.
Yeah.
You talked earlier about the process you go through when somebody is interested in weight loss. And was it the psychology that you start with?
Yeah.
What did you mean by that in terms of someone's psychology?
I don't do like a deep dive. It's just a case of and I just go straight up. Do you really want to lose weight? It's like do you really want to lose weight? How have you set yourself up to lose weight? And they go, well, I've started to do this, I've started to do that, and I tell them it is a journey. So it's just making sure, it's just like, I'd say it's a light bit of psychology, just to make sure that, that they are going to be, they're committed to losing weight. And like I've had someone the other day, it was like, well, my brother died an alcoholic quite young. My dad died from cardiac problems quite young, because I want to be the exception. So that's someone who's strongly motivated to lose weight. So it's good working with people like that. And then also it's like when I speak to people about, asking people their weight sometimes. I mean, I'm going to weigh them as well, but asking people their weight sometimes people get a bit funny. So I normally start with, well, where are you on your weight journey? I mean, are you the biggest, or have you lost weight? So then you get an open question, and then they're telling you about how they ended up there, how they ended up where they are.
Yeah.
There's different reasons for that. Yeah.
So when you move on from the psychology, was it diet or exercise you were looking at next?
Yeah. Then it just sort of depends, then it's one or the other. They are important. I mean, diet is probably the biggest sort of practical factor that you're going to get in weight loss and that. And so having a good diet, looking at your calories, and what I tend to do is and sort of look back at psychology again. If you go back a step, I tend to teach habits. I want them. I always say to them, right, we're going to teach you one habit today, one or two habits. We're going to have one or two habits which I want you to do for the whole of the month, and then then we'll teach you some more. Because I could teach you 15 things now that would help you straight away, but they're not going to absorb that. They're not going to do all that. So, teaching them one thing like, okay, no, right, when we, depending on the patient, it's normally one of the main things is no snacking. You just have your 3 meals. That should be enough food for you. If it's not, you're snacking, you need to have something else. And then it all depends on do I talk to them more about in depth about, what you should have in the meals? I may or may not, depending on where they are, where they are. A big thing I do though is I do talk more now about, and there's a lot of research now about protein, the amount of protein you need, because people lose, when you diet, you lose fat, but you lose muscle as well. And if you look at all the papers now that looking into this, for longevity, you want good muscle mass. And we tend, as we grow older, we lose muscle. So talk about how can you retain that? One, by diet, generally talking about protein, and then exercise. I'm talking about make sure you add resistance training, which could be like weights. It could be something like weights or resistance bands or something that makes you strong. So to different depth, I'll include that in every conversation. I mean, talking about, I was talking to someone the other day, and I was saying to him, talking about 60, and I was talking about you need to do some exercise. You're not doing anything, and their diet was okay. It wasn't brilliant, but so they said for the last 10 years I've not gained any weight, and so I thought, but I was just reading these papers. I was thinking about, because hold on, so for 10 years you haven't gained any weight, but you're not exercising and you're not particularly optimizing your diet to put more protein in. Yeah. And then we know that as you grow older, you sort of get weaker and you lose muscle if you're not actively using it. And they weren't actively using it. So even though they're the same weight, their body composition is not going to be the same. So they're probably going to be skinnier but fatter. Yeah. Because their body, so their muscle is going to go down and their fat's going to go up. So I'm constantly now preaching, make sure you do stuff to maintain muscle, maintain strength.
It's confusing, I think, from a person's perspective about losing weight, that you mentioned there don't snack during the day, but I've seen other dietitians and health nutritionists saying that you should snack through the day because you should eat little and often rather than eating 3 main meals. So it's kind of contrary information, unless by snacking you mean specifically things like cakes, biscuits, chocolate bars, that sort of snacking. Could you elaborate on that?
From what I've read, generally, if you can, I mean, I'm sort of tend to try. If my wife heard me now, she goes, "No, you don't." So if I have 2 meals, I try and to lose, because I need to lose a bit of weight on my tummy. So I tend to have like 2 meals a day, and fast until like lunchtime and have 2 meals a day. But I don't always do that, and then when I'll try and have 3 meals, but I find it hard to sort of get rid of some of my tummy fat. If I have 3 meals, but looking at a couple of papers, a couple of books I've read, they generally say 2-3 meals a day, no snacking. The thing with snacking is when you have a snack, you think, oh, I'll have a snack, I'll eat less for my next meal. You don't. You don't tend to eat less for your next meal. That's why. So it's just extra sort of calories. So I tend to say 3 meals, 2 or 3 meals a day, unless you've got some sort of crazy shift pattern. However, it's whatever works for you. If you find that, 1 meal, 2, 3 meals works, or, snacking works for you, and you're having a healthy snack, I'd always count, you'd want something with a bit of protein in. But don't count a meal unless you've had some protein in. So ideally, if you had something with a bit of protein in, that's fine. That's great. But I try to prescribe less of what you should eat this, you should do that. I give it sort of in general terms.
And as you say, I imagine some foods are worse for you than others. There's a friend of mine who was on this podcast 2 years ago. What did he say? He was about 21, 22 stone at his heaviest. He's lost, I think it's something like 11 stone in the past year. And obviously everybody wanted to know, how did he do it? What was he doing? And he said it was 3 things. Firstly, he cut out sugar.
Yeah.
And he doesn't drink, so there's no sugar going in through alcohol. He was walking at least 10,000 steps a day. Yeah. And he was doing weight training. Yeah. Resistance training, as you've said there. So it's kind of the 3 things you've talked about. Yeah. But it is, I mean, I don't eat sweet stuff much. Yeah. But I do drink a bit. So is cutting out sugar a huge factor?
Yeah. So sugar, even sugar definitely is, because that spikes your blood sugar up. And then you have a release of insulin from insulin. Insulin's job, insulin will try and bring that down by pushing it into your muscles, taking it out your blood, stop your blood rotting. So sugar, and then sugar is energy, basically sweets, chocolates. It's just like extra energy. Do you need the energy? Then you could have, there's a lot of debate about porridge, whether porridge is good or bad. Oats, are they good or bad? I mean, some people say it spikes their sugar, some people say it spikes their blood sugar, some people don't. I tend to be okay. I tend to be okay with porridge. Sugar in its rawest form, or the more processed something is, the easier it gets broken down into sugar, I'd say. Like biscuits, cakes, all that sort of stuff. If you can do without, great. I was watching this lady, I forget her name, I think she's a sugar goddess or something, but I've read stuff about in the past, similar sort of stuff. So if you are going to have sugar, she advocates sort of having it with like some green leaves or some sort of something with a bit of fibre, and then having the sugar. Ideally, if you can, or have it at the end of a meal, maybe. Ideally, if you can leave out the sugar, that's great. But just talking about that, I've just thought of something. Have you heard of the buffet effect?
No.
So the buffet effect is like, when you're having like a roast dinner and you're stuffed, then you can't eat anything else. And then the dessert comes out. You can eat the dessert, and you could probably have seconds of the dessert.
Because you've got a second dessert stomach, yeah.
Yeah, so what I tend to teach as well is, if possible, just have one sort of, either have a sweet meal or have a savoury meal. So if I was saying to have like a sweet lunchtime meal, I tend to have like Greek yogurt, and then I'll put some fruit. I'll put fruit in there as the sweetness. And I'll put some nuts and seeds in there, there's some fat in there as well. Yeah, some good healthy fat. And that would be a nice sweet meal, high protein, sweet meal. And then if I'm going to have something savoury, I'd just have something savoury. So that I always try to split them if you can.
Yeah, so don't have both, because if you eat savoury, you tend to crave sweet afterwards. I do that. I sometimes have cheese and biscuits as a meal. Or cheese and bread as a meal, and I always crave something sweet afterwards, because the cheese is very dry, very savoury, and usually it'll be something like grapes or a yogurt. It won't be bad. I won't have a cake or anything, but I still need that something sweet. I think the $1 million question I've got to ask is, once you've sorted out your exercise, you've sorted out your diet, and you're not doing all the horrible things you used to be doing, you're not having a bottle of wine every day like you used to. I'm speaking from personal experience there. Yeah. What do those injections actually do?
So in a nutshell, what the injections do is, well, first of all, they're not 100% sure. They're still working on the science, and
they're more sure, presumably, than what the ones you buy off Facebook will do, because you've no idea.
Yeah, they're a bit more sure. They sort of like, well, they're not sure exactly how they work. I'd say they know most of it, but not exactly it. Yep, that's exactly it. What they do in a nutshell is they tell your brain. So they are what's called, back a step, you have hormones in your body that make you feel hungry, and then you have hormones that say that you're full. So what these are, they're hormones that help you sort of say you're full, basically. And so they make it so they're telling your body, all right, I don't need any more food. In a nutshell, that's what they do. I'm full. I don't need any more food. So then you start eating less. So just a few other things. So what they'll do, a couple of things they'll do. So they'll slow your stomach down so that your stomach's full for longer. They work in your brain as well to tell you you're not hungry. They might also so to maintain your blood levels, they might cause, which sounds, if the science of it, a bit counterintuitive, but they might shoot a bit of insulin, a small bit of insulin in so that it maintains your blood levels. What else do they do in that? And there's a lot of good sort of science coming out about the positive cardiac effects. Now, I think haven't read the paper, but it was talking about the positive kidney effects. So there's a lot of good stuff about that.
Is there a potential risk with that drug for somebody, for example, who had an eating disorder and wanted to trick themselves into thinking they were full? Somebody anorexic, for example.
When we give a drug, there's a license for a drug, so the license indication. That means that drug has been licensed to treat this patient as long as. And then, so there's a certain BMI that these drugs are for. So if patients, generally, if you're fit and healthy, you've got a BMI of above 30, which means you're sort of biggish sort of to look at, yeah? If you've got some comorbidities, which means if you've got other diseases like, say, for example, diabetes, I don't personally treat diabetic patients because we've got a private practice. I let the GPs treat them. If you've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or you've got obstructive sleep apnea, one of those things, we can treat you at a lower BMI of about 27. However, I've just done a blog now for our pharmacy, which talks about BMI, and BMI is just one of the ways we can measure, if you're overweight, but it's not a brilliant. It's not brilliant because you could be a big rugby player.
Yeah,
according to BMI,
bodybuilders are obese, aren't they?
They're BMI, obese. Yeah. So BMI doesn't take into account your body composition, how much fat, how much muscle you've got. You could look at things like your height to weight ratio, and that talks about, okay, you've got how much fat have you got around your stomach. We know that fat relates to, poor cardiac health, for example. So those are things, other things. So when I see a patient, I may sometimes treat them what's called off-label, because I'll look and say, like, you've visibly got stomach fat. I can see there's enough there for me to warrant me to be able to give you this medication. But I did have someone in the other day, and they come in and I went, no. And I said, no, I've just had a baby. I guess, no, I guess people want to look like you. You're not. You're too skinny. I'm not giving it to you. And I just, but to me, she had a great sort of like slim body, like a model type body, sort of like like this, everyone has their own, like what they think is a model type body, but it was like a slim body that the BMI was obviously too low. And I refused to give it to her. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so if we go back to your question, if people who have got psychological problems use it and keep using the pens, they could do, because it's going to make them feel, not hungry and that. And I suppose those people, I mean, I've got no evidence, but maybe more of those people are buying stuff off the internet, are buying stuff off the internet without having the checks and balances.
Because they can't get it by going to a pharmacist or a GP, because they wouldn't be given it.
Yeah, face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if somebody was to take on a course of this, say somebody like myself who has an athlete's figure, if you consider a sumo wrestler an athlete, how long would somebody like me need to use one of these before we, start seeing good results, great results?
Because you can eat with them, and so it sort of depends on you, really. I've got a patient who phoned the other day and said they'd lost about 7 pounds in a week. Now, the first week you always tend to lose more when you first start. Maybe water and that as well. But then it depends on your lifestyle. If you're drinking alcohol every day, you're snacking on chocolates and stuff every day, so it's like compared to someone who occasionally has a drink, snacks every now and again, obviously one's going to lose more weight than the other one. So it depends. And then the way I tend to go is once you get weighed, and then we can see where your weight is. And if you start to fall too low, then, we don't give you the pen. That's the other thing I say, like, if there's, I'm eating chocolates and what have you, is get all the chocolates out of the house. But when you want a chocolate, go buy a chocolate, buy a single bar of chocolate, enjoy it. And enjoy, because we're humans, we've got to enjoy things.
Yeah.
You enjoy your life.
Yeah. So what's the cost on somebody taking a treatment of pens, for example, or how much is it per month?
It varies. So it varies. Average about 200-ish. About 200. I've seen it lower than that. I've seen it a lot higher than I've seen it, even like 300. But I'd say,
does that depend on how many injections they need?
Most people will just need the pen. So say by Wegovy, for example, it's good. So you'd have 4 injections in the pen, and even if you like, off the top of my head, even if you're 30 stone, you'd still need the same amount of medication.
Okay.
You wouldn't have to give someone, they're a bit bigger than me, so I'll have to give them a bit more medication. You wouldn't have to. Yeah.
But they'd obviously need it for longer.
Yeah, so they'll need it. They'll need it for longer, obviously, because they've got more to lose, obviously. But they don't need it. There's no dosage adjustment. Okay. And generally, the drugs are quite good in terms of, like, if you've got, you can have it with regards to if you've got kidney problems, liver problems. They're well tolerated. You can have them as long as they're not crazy kidney problems, crazy liver problems, and you discuss that with your medical practitioner, with the prescriber anyway.
Actually, I found that quite fun. I've never even thought about it before, but if you can, I do need to sort my diet out first.
So, I mean, I've tried them; they work, but I don't have them anymore because I'm no good at remembering. So I waste. Yeah. So I waste them. So I've had them. So it's good that I've had them because I know what they feel like. I know the sort of side effects. Main side effects tend to be like stomachy sort of side effects, nausea and what have you. So I know what they feel like, but I waste the pen because I for some reason I just never remember to take them, so I don't bother. So I'm trying to do it with that, which is what I'm trying to get all my patients is to get them off the pens. Really, it's not a good financial business trying to sort of get
your patients to stop using your product.
What the companies want. The companies make loads because people are constantly backing on the companies are worth billions now, and because they're constantly people off the pens, on the pens, off the pen-ons. My plan is to try and get you off the pens. Use them as a tool, and then wean you off them. Yeah.
And in terms of actually injecting, because I don't have a phobia of needles or anything, but I don't fancy the idea.
So they're 4mm needle. Most needles that you get injection are 1 inch. Is that 25mm?
Oh, right. Okay.
So an injection might be like a 1 inch needle, which is a 25mm. This is 4mm. So imagine 4mm is like just about as big as your nail. You're not going to feel it.
Where do you put it?
Generally in your tummy.
Oh.
You can't put it sort of on sides of your arms or on your, like your sides of your thighs. But generally, most people just pop in your tummy. It's dead easy. It's not. It is. I hate needles, but you cannot feel these needles. They're so slim.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for that. As a final question, because we're almost out of time now, but I have found this absolutely fascinating. if somebody wants to get hold of you, either it's for the training business, or it's for the consultancy, or it's for the practitioner business, that's the one. You've got so many businesses. What's the best way for them to reach out and get hold of you?
So I'm at the Medical Hub, which is my base now, is our new medical centre. I haven't really had a chance to talk about that, but at the medical centre, the Medical Hub is the medicalhubuk.co.uk. So we're here at the hub. Okay, the office number is 0151 722 1944. So generally, I'm here. I'll see patients here, and that's it. And just briefly, so this is our new medical centre, and we've literally just two things. I tell you, we've just started a menopause clinic, and we've just also started a migraine clinic as well. So we're trying to do service that we feel that that people need at the moment.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned a lot. Thanks, and I am now considering my life choices once again. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.